Freaking wild. Freaking wild. Alright, let's move on. Let's see if we can get another good video in before we call it bonus.
Claws nature has ever produced, and in pop culture it's known for slashing down a Giganotosaurus on the big screen, but the reality of the Therizinosaurus is stranger and in many ways more fascinating than fiction. Towering over 5...
Dude, I have not seen that Jurassic Park movie yet. By the way, this is a new channel, Buried Earth, we have not reacted to in the past. The most misunderstood claws in dinosaur history. I was curious about this, because I know, supposedly, from the little bit that I know, there's like ancient, like, fossilized trees that have like markings on them that almost perfectly align with this creature's like claws, right? So people thought that this might have been like a way to like mark territory.
5 meters tall, that's over 16
But now
feet,
it's like
weighing
Wolverine.
over 5 tons, this herbivorous giant stood taller than a giraffe, heavier than a hippo, and it may have been intimidating enough to make the most fierce predators think twice. Nicknamed the scythe lizard, Therizinosaurus earned its title from the enormous claws discovered alongside its fossils. These remains were found in Asia, primarily in Mongolia, and date back to the late Cretaceous period, around 70 million years ago. The first fossils were discovered in the 1940s, but at the time, scientists weren't sure what kind of creature they belonged to. The claws alone were enormous.
That is insane. Okay, see, because that picture you showed earlier made them look a lot more, like, stringy. Now, these are full-blown, like, claws. And then I think, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but since this is a fossil, does this mean that this was the actual, like, shape, size, width of the actual claws? Or, theoretically, would this not, like, have, like, an extra keratin layer above it, right? Because this would be the core?
The largest claw measured over 1 meter, 3.2 feet in length, earning it the title of the longest claws of all time. Even early paleontologists thought they must belong to a turtle-like animal or even a massive sauropodomorph. Eventually, these assumptions gave way to a clearer understanding. In 1988, the discovery of Allosaurus in China, one of the earliest known members of the Therizinosaur group, helped reveal the Therizinosaurus wasn't a turtle or a long-necked herbivore, but something entirely different. Today, we classify Therizinosaurus as a theropod dinosaur, part of the Maniraptoriclade. This is a group that includes raptors, bird-like dinosaurs, and even modern birds. Therizinosaurus
Okay, so it's like closer to a raptor.
was truly a bizarre animal by dinosaur
Well, there you go. That's the raptor's T-Rex.
standards. It measured up to 33 feet in length, 16 feet tall, and weighed over 5 tons. Its long, narrow neck supported a small head with a beak-like mouth, while its body ended in a short, stubby tail, unusual for a theropod of this size. But of course, its most iconic feature was its claws. Each hand had 3 long curved claws, with the largest measuring more than 1 meter, making them the longest claws of any known animal living or extinct. That includes extinct megafauna like the giant ground sloth and even modern species with famously long claws such as the giant anteater or armadillo. Nothing else comes close. These claws were so extraordinary that they even earned a place in the Guinness World Records.
Wow, okay, I kind. It's kind of like one of those things where you kind of knew this, but also were not aware of it. You get what I'm saying? Like, no duh, right? Like, you look at those claws, you're like, they gotta be. But you just sort of accepted them for what they were.
The only remarkable part of the Therizinosaurus's limbs, the arms themselves were long and muscular, with a combined reach of up to 2.5 meters or around 8 feet long. The points of muscle attachment, especially for the biceps, were exceptionally well developed, suggesting that these arms were not just long, but extremely strong and capable of withstanding high stress. To understand how this unusual creature came to be, we have to...
I would have to imagine, right? Because think about it, if you stab one of those claws into something, you would need hella freaking muscles to, like, make sure whatever you stabbed it into doesn't, like, twist and start, like, turning and freaking break your arm, you know?
Look back at
you would need a lot of muscle to keep control of whatever you're grabbing.
One of its lineage was the Falcarius, a dinosaur from North America that lived during the early Cretaceous period. It was small, weighing around 100 kilograms.
It was small, he says.
Of its lineage was the Falcarius, a dinosaur from North America that lived during the early Cretaceous period. It was small.
Small, he says. Okay.
Weighing around 100 kilograms and likely used its long claws for gathering vegetation or defense. Over millions of years, this lineage grew both in size and specialization. Members of this group became taller, more upright in posture, and developed the long necks, beaked mouths, and distinctive claws that define the Therizinosaur group today. This gradual transformation culminated in Therizinosaurus caleniformis, the largest and most iconic member of the clade, and the species we recognize today as Therizinosaurus. With claws this large and intimidating, is
They gave it a more velociraptor face.
easy to imagine.
Nah, they straight up just copy-pasted Blue from Jurassic Park on this one.
Therizinosaurus as a predator, slashing through rival dinosaurs in battles for survival, and indeed, popular films on the big screen have portrayed it in this way, but the truth is quite different. Despite its fearsome appearance, Therizinosaurus was herbivorous. Its claws weren't used for hunting, but rather may have served a range of functions, including foraging, gathering vegetation, or defense. Some paleontologists have proposed that it may have used its claws to help pull down branches and strip leaves from trees, making it a high browser, similar in behaviour to the modern giraffe. However, recent biomechanical studies suggest that these claws were relatively delicate and not well suited for forceful actions like digging, piercing, or heavy pulling, although it
Oh, okay, so the claws were pretty freaking fragile.
is important to say that these theories are still debated and should be viewed as ongoing scientific hypotheses. But something that does seem increasingly likely is that the claws played a role in visual display or intimidation. Many researchers now think the Therizinosaurus was a highly territorial and potentially aggressive animal, similar to large herbivores today like hippos or elephants. Though it didn't eat meat, it would have likely been dangerous when provoked by defending its territory. At this point, it's easy to imagine that a 5-meter tall animal, waving 2.5-meter long arms, tipped with massive
Where the frig is this at?
spear-like claws, created an unforgettable.
Imagine
and
taking your
possibly
dog to the
terrifying
park
display
there.
to ward off predators or rivals. And if cornered, Therizinosaurus could deliver a powerful sweeping blow. While the claws may have been too fragile for prolonged combat, a single strike could cause some serious damage. For decades, the claws of the Therizinosaurus have dominated the conversation, and understandably so. After all, they are the longest claws of any known animal, living or extinct. But as new studies have shown, there is more to this creature's story than its fearsome hands. Recent research has revealed fresh insights not only into how these claws may have functioned, but how Therizinosaurus may have behaved, interacted with others, and even communicated, all adding unexpected depth to this already bizarre dinosaur. So let's dive deeper into the famous claws of the Therizinosaurus. While earlier interpretations imagine them being used to slash, stab, or even decapitate opponents, a 2023 study published in Nature Communications presented a much more nuanced view. Using digital models and stress analysis, the researchers found that the claws of the Therizinosaurus, despite their terrifying appearance, were biomechanically unsuited for forceful impacts. Their internal structure suggests they would have been vulnerable to snapping under high pressure, making them poorly adapted for stabbing in combat situations. Instead,
Okay, so yeah, they're more like clawing, more like scratching.
the study proposed alternative uses. The claws may have served a gentle raking or grasping function, perhaps pulling down high branches or manipulating plant material. In short, more of a tool than a weapon. This interpretation aligns with an earlier 2014 paper in Proceedings of the Royal Society B, which analysed the skull anatomy.
Like, even if it's not stabbing you with the damn thing, I'm pretty sure I would be scared of getting like slashed up by it. Like, like for example, if you're a T-Rex and you try to bite its neck, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like clawing, like scratching at you like crazy, right?
Of the Therizinosaurus and its close relatives. It found that the animal had relatively small jaw muscles, a beak-like mouth, and a lightweight skull, all of which point to a selective herbivorous diet. These adaptations likely allowed it to nip or clip soft vegetation rather than crush
Just
or tear.
get the frick out of here,
Combine that
bees!
with long arms and giant
Get wrecked!
claws, and a new picture emerges of a
I
surprisingly
didn't think about that, but yeah, you could totally like cut down like honeybee like nests and stuff. Like, imagine if you were to go and try to like eat leaves from a tree, and that tree had like a bunch of really bad ants, like an ant nest. You could just cut off the ant nest and just freaking like grab the freaking leaves, you know?
delicate giant adept at precision browsing in a crowded ecosystem. But the story doesn't stop at feeding. In the same 2023 Nature study, it also raises the possibility that Therizinosaurus's claws played a behavioral or social role. The researchers point out such
I got bigger claws
exaggerated
than you.
anatomical features like enormous horns, frills, or crests are often used in modern animals for display, not combat. It's possible that these claws, visible from a distance and unlike anything else in the animal kingdom, may have helped individuals signal dominance, warn off rivals, and even attract mates. While we may never know the exact behavioral repertoire of the Therizinosaurus, the idea that it uses its claws as a form of visual communication fits with patterns seen in both extinct and living animals. In this light, Therizinosaurus begins to resemble animals we're more familiar with today. Not predators, but highly specialized, sometimes territorial herbivores. Consider modern ostriches or cassowaries.
Weren't there also like giant shellfish? I have to wonder, you think, because I'm like, damn, those claws must be nice to like open up a clam.
Large, feathered, and visually striking, they use their body language and displays to communicate, and though generally non-violent, they can be dangerous when provoked. Therizinosaurus may have failed.
I mean, ostriches are literal freaking velociraptors.
Ecological and behavioral niche, but on a much larger scale. Even its posture and limb proportions suggest a possible role in social signaling. Standing upright with long arms and massive claws held forward, Therizinosaurus would have made a dramatic and unmistakable silhouette in the late Cretaceous landscape. Whether it was flailing its arms in a territorial warning, performing a slow swaying display during courtship, the claws may have been as much for being seen as they were for reaching plants. Of course, not all of these ideas are confirmed, they are hypotheses based on biomechanical modelling, comparative
Yeah, I had to imagine they didn't really get a chance to interview the Therizinosaur.
anatomy, and observed patterns in modern animal behaviour, but they are grounded in peer-reviewed research, and they reflect a broader shift on how paleontologists interpret dinosaur anatomy, not just as machinery, but as part of complex living ecosystems where communication, social behaviour, and
Now, I heard on a documentary that there was a hypothesis that potentially, in order to like mark their territory so that other Therizinosaurs don't like enter, they kind of would like scratch up the trees like in a certain way to like basically like say like, hey, my territory, there's a male Therizinosaur like around these parts, get out.
display are as important as muscle and bone. Ultimately, these new insights make the Therizinosaurus even more fascinating. Rather than a brute force killer, it may have been a highly specialized, surprisingly graceful browser, one that used its size, reach, and appearance to survive and interact in ways we're only just beginning to understand. The reality, as always, is stranger and far more interesting than the movies. Though we now know much more about the Therizinosaurus, the
Honestly, like when I look at its claws like this, like look like
ways
not
we're only
this right
just
here, but
beginning
like
to understand. The reality, as always,
like look at
is
those claws right there. If the Therizino were to like flip its claw upside down, so to speak here, like it was picking something up, and then it would like to like grab like let's say a blueberry bush. Like if a Therizino sort of like picked up this bush and like uprooted the entire bush with the berries and all, it would just be able to snack on that in its hand. You get what I'm saying? I feel like that would be like a really like it has like a lot of practical use.
stranger and far more interesting than the movies. Though we now know much more about the Therizinosaurus, there's still more to discover, including the circumstances of its extinction. What we do know is that the Therizinosaurus thrived during the late Cretaceous period. It was highly specialized for its environment, with a towering reach and a foraging style that gave it uncontested access to vegetation high above the ground. It had few competitors and even fewer predators brave enough to challenge it. But like many of its contemporaries, Therizinosaurus met its end around 66 million years ago.
Yeah, there's like a lot of trees that have like fruits really up high too. I feel like it would be able to like bend the tree and use those claws to cut off branches, so it could easily like grab the fruits off the ground.
Extinction was not due to competition or predators. Instead, it was part of a global event, a mass extinction
that's what I would do with
triggered
those
by an
claws.
asteroid impact estimated to weigh over 1 quadrillion metric tons. The aftermath of this impact led to catastrophic environmental changes.
We actually had 2 meteorites that we know of that we've like found like impact sites for. One is very recent. Might have been for the very first Great Extinction.
Including
The Great
wildfires,
Dying specifically.
acid rain, blocked sunlight, and collapsing food chains.
Not this one,
Even
before this,
giants
before
like
even dinosaurs.
Therizinosaurus, perfectly adapted to their ecosystem, couldn't survive the sudden and dramatic shifts that followed. Therizinosaurus was a creature that challenged expectations. It was a theropod, but not a predator. It had enormous claws, but not to prey on other animals. It stood taller than almost any other land animal of its time, yet fed on leaves and ferns. Its evolutionary path from small therizinosaurs like the Falcarius to the towering Therizinosaurus caleniformis is a remarkable example of how diverse and adaptable the dinosaur lineage truly was. And while films may continue to exaggerate its ferocity, the true story of the Therizinosaurus is far more fascinating. It was one of the most unusual and misunderstood giants of the dinosaur world, an animal that combined power, intelligence, and specialization in ways that continue to surprise scientists even today.
Yeah, I gotta imagine, like in this picture right here, it'd be able to like rake its freaking fingers across all those trees right there and just freaking like just absolutely rip out all the freaking oranges.
Really hope you enjoy even to continue to surprise scientists.
Right, like with those claws, just freaking like put your claws in there, just freaking rip it all off. I'm pretty sure. That'd be genius.
Scientists even today. My name's Joe, and I really hope you enjoyed this video on the Therizinosaurus. On screen right now are 2 videos that we think you would absolutely love to watch, and remember, subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the next dinosaur we learn together.
That was an absolutely phenomenal video. You already saw what the next video is. We're gonna watch it. That was a phenomenal video. Absolutely loved it. Very informative. And just really well done. Really well worded. Kept the pace. I loved it. No, it's good. Trust me. I watch a lot of freaking nerdy stuff like this all the time. And some of them can really like drag it on for too long, or some of them can like not. He gave us the stuff we all wanted. Okay, we want to know about the claws and how it can like destroy another dinosaur or a T-Rex. He knows. It was a good one. Go check them out. Go drop a like. Go drop a sub. But go ahead and share the link for the video in the description. Monos, go and check it out. Thanks for hanging out. Like or dislike, comment, and subscribe. And become a Monodachi today. I live stream all day, Monday through Friday, so go say hi. That's all for now, Monos. Goodbye, and thanks for swinging by. Salut!